How long were you down in the city for?
Couple of days.
Couple of days. You had a nice time?
Yeah, my wife has a TV show down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So come on over here. I'm going to have you a seat in the back seat.
Why am I under arrest?
I'm not going to debate it with you on the side of the road, okay? I'm asking you politely to sit in the back of the car. If you won't do that, then I'm going to handcuff you and I'm going to put you in the back of the car. Okay, so those... it's all on tape. I got a camera in the window. I'm wearing a mic. So it's entirely up to you.
No,
I'm turn around and place your hands behind your back.
I'm under arrest?
Turn around and place your hands behind your back.
Am I under arrest?
You're going to turn around and place your hands behind your back.
Am I under arrest?
It's time for Pot Talk 2013, starring Joe Barton. Also starring Paula Gloria. And now it's time for tonight's edition of Pot Talk TV.
Okay, how you doing? This is Joe Barton again with Pot Talk, here with my lovely wife, Paula Gloria. And as usual, we want to remind all you people out there, our prisons are still full of marijuana prisoners. Nobody out there is doing anything to get them out, and they just keep filling more and more in, and you people are paying for it. Your children are paying for it. Children are being taken away from parents. Isn't it time that we stop it? It's time for all you people out there to start writing your politicians. Locally, you can go to your local town board and tell the police tell the town board you want the local police to stop worrying about marijuana. You know, it's non-violent. There's no criminality to it, really, other than that the government decided to say they don't want people doing it. It's proven to be a good medicine. In 5,000 years, there's never been a death on it. You can't say that about the aspirin at the local pharmacy, or all those over-the-counter drugs that you can buy. None of them can say that there's never been a death from them. So why are we locking up people for marijuana? And what do you think of that, Paula?
Well, when you say nobody's doing anything, we've got Rod Class, you've got Bill Windsor, but do you think Bill Windsor would be savvy?
No, I meant the people out there in the television audience.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I just think that, you know, what's happening now on the internet is there's a whole community, and that's what we learned from, an online community. And they kind of go to different teachers, different people. Maybe they don't call themselves teachers. They just say, I'm not supposed to give legal advice, but this is my experience. And you hear so many different experiences that Americans are having throughout the country in courts. And some of these experiences are really good. Judges are waking up. Some communities are saying we don't want to go by the way of corruption. We do want to create honest wealth. And they're starting to understand the fraud of the Federal Reserve and so on like that.
Well, I hope so. We've been trying to educate you people on the stuff that we've researched, and the research that we've gotten from other people, like Rod Class, as she mentioned, and Raja, as we've mentioned, and Constitution Man, so many that we've mentioned on many of our shows. We hope that you people out there have at least gone out to the internet on YouTube, and checked out the people that we've told you to look up, such as Rod Class, Raja, Constitution Man, Barefoot's World,
Gene Keating.
Keating.
So many good.
Dean Clifford.
Right.
All you people should go out there and educate yourselves, because when you know the scam that the corporate government has been running on you, then you'll know how to fight them. And if more people started fighting them, taking them into court and taking them on, and not just accepting, oh, you gave me a ticket because your coffers were a bit low, or you busted my kid because the local police needed some revenue, and the judges needed some revenue because the judges get a kickback. Judges get a percentage for every person that they convict. So if they get a percentage for every person they convict, how is it possible to get a fair trial? We want you people out there to start getting involved and changing this country.
Since I'm doing a lot of the editing for the shows, I get to look at it many, many times, some of the information, and editing the Rod class material was particularly illuminating because we realized that the courts that we've been going around to, Woodstock and, well, probably all of them, Hurley, Marbletown, they're actually, in the case of the driver's license and with the pot busts, they say that you're under the jurisdiction of the driver's license or of the state, that you're actually working for the state. But since you never got a paycheck and so on, you know, you can argue in that vein. But the truth of the matter is...
Explain a little better how they say we're working for the state. Because a lot of people out there are going to think that we sound crazy when we say that they act like we are working for the state, like we are employees of the state. You want to explain it? All right. Part of how they do it is they set it up and give you an all-capital name. We did this about the birth certificate and your Social Security card and your driver's license in all capitals. That made you a corporation. So as a corporation, corporations are registered with the state and basically owned by the state. So, and since they gave you a birth certificate, that certificate was like a bill of lading for you, like you were a piece of cattle, and you are owned by the state. So now, if they own you, they kind of act like, well, it's not legal what they do. It's just all to assume jurisdiction. If you don't know what they're doing, then they assume it, and if you don't dispute it, then since it was assumed and you didn't dispute it, then you are a corporation if they want, when they want you to be, so they can use certain laws against you.
Your ignorance makes it legal, right?
Or you are chattel, a ward of the court, that the court can do what it wants with you, which is another way they kind of usurp jurisdiction. And then the other way they do it is they treat you like you are an employee, and they're the boss, and the boss is reprimanding you or docking your pay. It's all scams they use in court, and that they don't really have real jurisdiction. The founding fathers never set up our country to have a court system like we have. You know, it's incorporated, and it's about making money, and it just moves chattel, we the people, around from place to place, and that is how it profits. Go ahead.
The basic structure of this is that we're valued as a natural resource. And that's what collateralizes the money, the future, our full faith and credit, and our future labor at the time that the birth certificate is exchanged with our mother, who is under the impression that this exchange is being made for our share of the commonwealth. And at the beginning, none of this was noticeable because either the resources were so vast, or on the county level, the abuse of the public funding wasn't as great. When they say in these courts, well, the Constitution doesn't apply to us, that's federal, and we're a local court or whatever, the truth of the matter is the political subdivision is getting 40% federal funding. And it's getting federal funding, as Joe said in past shows, not to give out tickets and not even to enforce laws, but to protect our rights. Right?
Right. The federal government, when it set up driving and licensing and fixing the roads and traffic signs and traffic lights, they set it up. That was for the safety of the people. That's what government's supposed to be doing, watching out for us, setting up roads that are safe, traffic signs so we go the right way and we don't run into each other, and traffic lights so that we know when to stop and when to go. We give the other guy a chance. And that's what the federal funding was given for. And then that federal funding got passed down from federal government to the states, and from the states to the counties, and from the counties to the town. And it gets 40%. I don't know exactly how. I know they give 40% and how it's all divided down. And that was to take care of all the expenses of the highways and all that. Now, when you go to court and they decide to give you a ticket, first of all, there were only really two forms of license. And we're going to show the Rod Class stuff, and he explains it much more in detail. But there was a license for over 26,000 pounds and a license for over 10,000 pounds. That's for trucking, for transporting, and for that. And the license for under 10,000 pounds also goes for commerce. If you're
Excuse me, not under. It's still over 10,000.
No, I'm talking about if you were driving a taxi cab. A taxi cab's not at 10,000 pounds.
Oh, okay.
If you were driving a taxi cab or a limousine service, well, now you're for hire, so therefore it falls under commerce, and that's what the government, under our Constitution, the Congress has the right to regulate commerce. But when you drive to work, that's not commerce. When you drive to the store, that's not commerce. They scammed everybody when they made everybody get driver's licenses, and they scammed you by saying it's mandatory, and they have no authority to make it mandatory because the Constitution don't give them the authority, and Congress and the Senate and the President and everybody who is in government gets their authority from the Constitution. The Constitution was we the people delegated this authority to government to act a certain way. And it
Protect our rights.
To protect our rights, to look out for our interests, not to rule over us. Government
not to
was
feather their nests.
right, and not to take bribes and to enrich themselves and to set up these fictitious courts that just take your money. When these judges take your money for tickets, that money's not going back into the roads or the road signs. That money's going into the pockets of the judges, the prosecutors, the politicians, the police. So all it is a big scam set up to pick your pockets.
But it's sort of a machine because the judges, the politicians, the police, the high-level people, they have bosses above them that they're answerable to. But the
Who are getting their cut.
Who are getting and the whole idea of upholding your oath of office, if you are a police officer or if you're a public servant, taking that oath gives you power, that the people are behind you. You're protecting the people and they're protecting you. And so with the force of that power, you can say to a boss who's asking you to do something that really is something against the best interests of the public at large, you can say, no, I won't do that. And particularly as this awakening happens throughout the country, they can then say, look at this public access TV show. They know the scam. So I don't want to be personally liable, because eventually that's what it boils down to, is you've got to get the flesh and blood human beings who do make moral decisions to step, you're drawing them out of the shadows of this corporate curtain. They're hiding under the corporation to do illegal things against the people. That was never the intention of the corporation. Joe and I always want to emphasize we're not against police, we're not against public servants, we're not against judges, prosecutors, we're not against anybody that goes by the Constitution. We have a big problem with those who have this sort of appearance and veneer that they're trusted public servants, but you start to look at the record, and the record is looking very bad.
And who've usurped authority that they legitimately do not have.
Right.
That's what I'm just adding to what you said.
Yeah, but it's probably going to take a lot more attention from our side to show up to public meetings. Like, I was sorry that I missed the opening of the Woodstock Town Hall, right? Is that what it was, Randy, the town hall?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say a little bit about that and why you didn't come?
Well, the only thing I can say about why I didn't come was because I had a prior commitment to get some physical therapy to try to get back on my feet. But what I heard about the town hall is that it's been basically converted into nothing more than a court and holding cells for people that have been taken into custody, and basically a cop shop, which I think absolutely, if this is in fact what's been done to town hall, it confirms that Woodstock is officially a police state.
Right, right.
Yeah. And it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it
that,
is.
Now, what used to be town hall is now a holding pen for prisoners and a court. You know, pretty soon they're just going to march them in, go guilty, move them out, march them in, guilty, move them out, march them in, guilty, move them out. You know, due process and equal protection has been thrown out all over this county. I mean, from Donald Williams to Saugerties to Hurley to Marbletown, none of these judges honored due process. They all, when you put in your paperwork, which you have a right to make your argument, the prosecutor serves paperwork. Here's a warrant, or here is charges, right? And you have to answer those charges, right? You're not innocent until proven guilty. You have to go in there and answer the charges. And when you answer the charges, or if you say the charges are bogus, the judge just goes, well, I don't want to listen to your argument because I don't make money if I listen to your argument. But if I listen to the prosecutor's argument, I make money. The prosecutor makes money. And this public defender that we forced on you, who ain't done nothing but sit on his butt, not even talk to you, he's going to make some money. And since all of us are making money, fuck you.
Oh, dear.
That's the judges in this country, people. Wake up.
It gives you an insight, though. You know, when Randy was talking about selling off the rail track to create the rail trails, you know, that just really stimulated something in me, because I have, grandmothers and relatives that told me about how things went in Europe or in Egypt when everything was nationalized. And everybody hears about people streaming out of Germany during the Second World War. Well, those weren't just people fleeing the concentration camps. A lot of those people were heading out of the country with loot. And that's what we're starting to see now. People are realizing that as more and more people wake up and they demand their rights, to say, who put these charges on me? Just, don't just say the charges are, in the abstract. Who did you harm? Who put the charges on you? And that's what establishes jurisdiction. You find a neutral party, a judge, that will, that the judge is supposed to be the impartial decider of the case. The harmed party is the one that's supposed to say, I have been harmed by this or that person in this or that a way. I would like you to be the judge. I'd like, if you have a court system there, I'd like you to get the jury together. But ultimately, deep legal contemplation that I've done indicates that we're always being judged by a jury of our peers. And another insight I had is, Joe and I want to be judged by the flesh and blood human beings that are living in this community. We don't particularly care how we look in the eyes of a corporation, and particularly corporations that are set up to make profit. We don't have any problem with public servants, with police, with clerks, judges, prosecutors who go by due process. So all of you out there who go by due process, who swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you will have no gripe with me or Joe. We're there to support you. We're there to honor the work that you're doing to uphold it, because it's hard work. It's very hard to stand up against this sort of prevailing opinion that there's just no way you can fight the corruption in City Hall, that it's just too entrenched, it's too deep, it's too long-standing. But that's not true. That's why fraud has no statute of limitations. Now, I can tell when I go to the food pantry and to places where people have been hit economically very hard, the worst way they've been hit is psychologically. And that's what Constitution Man says. Once foreclosure has visited somebody, there's very little chance that they recover. They go into a psychological tailspin. They feel unworthy. If they have family that takes care of them, the family doesn't understand the bank fraud, so they look on the person who hasn't been able to make payments as a deadbeat, not realizing that that person in the very first instant, forget the robo-signing and all that, just the signature of that person is what generated credit into the accounts of the banks that then turn around, and you in your ignorance didn't realize that you were just the beneficiary of a trust, and they get you to sign again that you got money from the bank that the bank will never be able to prove that they gave you because they never gave you money. And that's a hard thing to wrap your head around. Now, the importance of wrapping your head around it is you'll realize there's a difference between access to credit that you get through your good old boy network and real honest wealth that comes from, say, gold-backed currency, where you have a commodity that's got a recognized value, not the commodity of flesh and blood human beings, where our birth certificate and the bottom of our foot that's got the stamp. Because the states are getting from the federal government $1 million a year for each of us with a birth certificate. And it goes into these accounts that then people, the political people and the bureaucrats can start to access these accounts if they can come up with various gimmicks. Oops, did I say that, gimmicks?
And they can scam your signature.
But just let me finish this thought. So they come up with methods or ways to take care of you, ways to say you need handicap parking, you need this, you need that, and the more that you need, and they can come up with a way to provide it for you, the more they can get into your accounts to then give you the benefits. The problem is because they're accessing credit accounts and we're not dealing with real wealth, the real wealth and the real creativity and the product of industry and all of that, it's not existing. Because without the ability to interact with resources, human beings can't create wealth. And when wealth doesn't exist, then what can you manipulate except illusions? And that's what's going on today. Why, if it took $3 trillion to pay off every single mortgage in the country, including those that weren't in default, where did $32 trillion go? And why are people still going to court, frightened out of their mind about being evicted? And even worse, why are some people going out to get mortgages exactly for the purpose of not paying them back? Because now you're jumping on the bandwagon that's harming the country. And so that's why this is very precious knowledge. I feel that it's a very rare opportunity because when Joe and Jay were first busted in 2008, you want to explain how you did the David Dodge stuff?
No, go ahead.
Well, Joe remembered a conversation of 20 years ago with a man named David Dodge, and based on memory of that conversation, Jay started to go online and pull up a lot of law sites. Well, now, at an alarming rate, the search engines are getting jammed and manipulated, and it's getting more and more difficult to find these case sites to put it together. And that's why I say this is a very rare opportunity that we have people like Randy and Felicia and all of what Dee Dee Halleck said before, the struggling that this community did to get the little, modicum of equipment that it was able to get when other public access stations are far better equipped, and this one could have been as well equipped had there been the motivation on the side of our elected officials. But there was not. They were more comfortable with cozying up to Time Warner and giving them a good deal. But the reason that this is so alarming is that if people can't share knowledge within the community, you don't know simple things like town hall is being remodeled to turn it into a court. Now, if it's being turned into a court, that means that there is an economic plan that this community is going to produce more criminals than it's going to produce artists, musicians, all of the things that a town would want to come out physically and sit together and discuss. All of us shouldn't be either watching cable television passively or even on our computer leaving a few comments here and there on somebody's YouTube thread, when instead you could go down with your body and sit with other bodies of people that live in your community and say, why are the property taxes so high? Why is it so high to give an education, so expensive? And then why are the kids being turned out where if they get a pot bus, they don't have a chance to get a grant or a scholarship?
Or a fair trial.
Or, yeah, of course, even a fair trial, because these busts are not legal. Rod Class has even called to our attention that in 1986, on the federal level, possession of marijuana was repealed. Now, did Abigail Storm know that when she started off hemp controversy?
Let me jump in for 1 second on this.
But just one thing, the pot people are a little bit behind the curve on this. We got this from people who were dealing with foreclosures, property taxes, IRS taxes, and even guns.
Yeah, but let me add about the marijuana possession law being repealed. When they made the law on possession of marijuana, the same day they repealed it. But when they wrote the whole law down, and at the very bottom they put repealed, right? Which they knew that what they were doing was unconstitutional. They knew it. They couldn't really make it a law. So they made a law and repealed it. But when they printed it in the law books, they printed the law without the word repealed. And that's what all these courts are using against the people right now. When they arrest people for marijuana, they know that it's repealed. They know that they're acting illegal, but they're making money off it. And that's what all these courts are made up for. And back to the fact that the town hall is a court. All the people in this town should be down there raising hell, saying, no, we don't. You turned our town hall into a court, which means that court is there to make money. So how are they going to make money? They're going to make it by pulling more of you over and giving more of you in-town tickets. They're going to find more people and bring them into court. Anytime someone makes a little complaint that should be dismissed and not even be in court, they're going to drag it into court and they're going to continue it. And so they've set up the town hall to be the economic engine for Woodstock. Is that what you people want? A court that's just going to just keep dragging people in and dragging people in, and that's how they make their money? You people better wake up in Woodstock.
Randy, do you have any thoughts? I'd like to hear.
The only thought that I have about it really is that tomorrow night, Tuesday, is the town board meeting right here at the community center at 7 o'clock. And at the beginning of that is the public be heard segment. So if you feel infringed upon by the fact that what used to be one of the two major community venues in this town has now been turned basically into a cop shop, then come down to the public be heard tomorrow at 7 o'clock and let the town board hear what you have to say.
So, Randy, tell me again, you come in there at 6:30 or 7? You have to put your name on a list?
Come in there a little bit before 7. And yeah, you do have to put your name on the list, and then you get up and you're given approximately 2 minutes, but if you're being coherent, they let you go a little bit longer.
Yeah, I bet you're coherent.
And we need more of you people. We've been doing it, fighting these people, going into courts, challenging them. It's time for you people out there in Woodstock to start showing up and doing something. The town hall meeting should be full of Woodstock residents demanding what the residents want, not let the local politicians say, this is what we're going to do. in every little town, not just Woodstock, in all these little towns, the local politicians have it like a little fiefdom where they dictate what we're going to do with your tax money, how we're going to raise your tax money. We're going to hire more police to give more tickets. It's the politicians that are doing that. Why don't you people go down there and tell the politicians enough is enough and we're going to vote you out if you don't stop it?
Right. I'm even thinking on Election Day when Rod Class would talk about that one day that they go by the Constitution.
Right.
I'm still thinking through this, how you register to vote, because if you're registered through this corporation in the District of Columbia, I believe that's limited. But could people start to vote outside of that? That's something I'd like to think about.
Well, that's...
Then they wouldn't have to go by the World Bank, the IMF, and the Federal Reserve. They could go by the Constitution to say, I'd like somebody that's on the town board or on the ethics committee or whatever that's not in any way beholden to this particular corporation outside of the, registered in the District of Columbia.
We can't set up a separate vote like they got their vote and then we're going to have our vote. What we got to do is that vote was supposed to be our vote. We got to take it back and make it back to what it was supposed to be, And like Rod Class said, once we have what is the college that votes in the president's?
The Electoral
College. Once we had that, the people really lost their vote. It's a bunch of powerful people really up on top deciding. We need to get it back to where the people's vote are what puts in the president. That was one of the flaws that the founding fathers let happen, was the Electoral College.
Well, I was thinking, take aside running a whole government, think about just public access. Dee Dee Halleck has told me about these public access stations all over the country that are very successful, very robust, very loved by their community. The people go in and they work together, and then physically there's space for the people to work together. You also need a physical space that's big enough. If that's done, I was thinking I would like to vote for people, say 2 people in the state of New York, to go to some national place for public access, and each of the places in the states or whatever vote for whoever's most active. For example, I would vote for Dee Dee because she goes all around to kind of represent my interests in Manhattan and up here in Woodstock. And likewise, I would like at such a convention to know about some of the issues that other public access stations are going through. And in particular, I would say every single website or internet chat group that we worked with is a radio chat group. None of them were doing television that I'm aware of.
Right.
So I would like to, once I find out more about these robust public access communities, which I hope to be county-wide throughout America, I would like to turn them on to some of the content that so far is only available on radio through the internet and through TalkShoe and these different podcasts. But I suspect some of these big websites are going to start to get more restrictive in what they expect of you in terms of your privacy in return for posting on those sites. And that's yet another reason to have a site that has nothing to do with commerce. And that should be such a site that would be public access. And that's why I'm studying more about community broadband. Do you have any thoughts on that?
My thought is that more people should support public access. Without public access, all you have is the brainwashing lies and deceptions that you get on all your normal channels, on your cable networks, on Fox, on CNN. They'll talk about all like gay marriage. You'll hear so much gay marriage, but you won't hear nothing about the meters that you were told about on here, and you won't hear stuff about GMOs, and you won't hear stuff about how the cancer industry and the pharmaceutical industries are just poisoning our people, and you won't hear that on CNN or Fox. You're only going to hear the truth from people on public access right now. And so people out there should really be pushing for public access countywide, coast to coast. And that's the only way that we, the people, are going to have a voice that's not programming to make us into mental robots.
And Joe and I also have a vision for a lot more happier stuff, fun stuff that we want to do too.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well,
Music.
we can't do the fun stuff right now. Oh, well, music. Yeah, we're going to bring people music when we can. But we can't do the fun stuff right now because right now our country is just about ready to hit critical mass. And if we don't wake up the people and the people don't start demanding change and people don't become active and committed to bring back our constitutional form of life, then the happy stuff is not going to be possible.
I also noticed that the patents for cannabis are getting very difficult to find on the internet too, that you have to be very persistent. If you know that it's there, if you know that there's 11 patents, you can keep digging around until you find them. But if you don't know it and you land on some of these sort of filtering websites, I think all of you know them, they're sort of soulless. Well, those are sort of, they seem to be link breakers. So you would think that if the internet was free and it was allowed to develop, that as these patents get passed around more and people have more opinions about them and thoughts or whatever, it should go higher in the search engines. So those patents should get easier and easier to find, but they're not. You're having, enough marijuana activist groups to choke a horse being launched on Facebook, so much so that you have trouble finding the real issues, and the science is particularly what you need to have access to have the confidence that what we're really fighting is the pharmaceuticals and the banks. And when people are rendered into legal fictions, it just becomes kind of a game of how much profit you can make, and you pretty much forget that, somebody was showing me the factory farming website for the chickens, and they have 4 different kinds of chickens, and you load up and you get 20,000 of these, and they figured out the way for how much eggs and how thick the shell should be and all of that. But you don't take into account the tremendous suffering and then the tremendous pollution. Up in the helicopters, you look at what it's doing to all of the rivers. Well, this is a function of algorithms. They're just looking at it in a way, how do you make the most amount of money for the least amount of resources or the least amount of wages that you're paying or whatever. The same thing is done when you start to look in the CRIS reports. If you don't believe me, just Google it. Put CRIS, Court Registry Investment System. But if you just put in CRIS, and it'll give you a lot of choices. I went down to one of them, and I was deep into a municipal website, and it was so horrifying, so disgusting, so foul, because you could see the language, the way they chose their words. It was masking that what you're talking about.
It's all for deception.
It's human trafficking. Those are human beings. They are not corporations. Those are human beings that were brought in, that are then warehoused. They access the accounts. And earlier, Randy was talking about the town hall, and she said getting more, and the holding cell. The holding cell, as she was finding the words, I realized the first word that came to me was clients, to take care of the clients. That's really what they are. Have you noticed how politely you're treated in court? It's because all of those people are highly trained. But the reason they're highly trained is not about really serving the public. They're highly trained to make sure they don't say the wrong thing and get the operation into trouble. Get liability going. I see your head swinging there, Randy.
It reminds me, every word you're saying reminds me of what I've encountered at every step of the way with hospital administrators when there was some mistake made or wrongdoing. They just circle the wagons, but in the meantime, oh, you have to realize how good we are, how many awards we have.
Right.
And apologies are cheap, and I hate apologies.
I know.
Because they're so cheap. Apologizing up and down the wazoo for something doesn't cost any of these corporations or these people who are doing us wrong 1 penny. Don't give me an apology. Tell me what you're going to do to make it right the next time.
Right.
Right, but the thing is I think where we're lacking is we're not litigious people like us. Randy, you were even saying it's going to be a hassle to think about suing, but the tendency is until you hit them in the pockets, they don't really take it that seriously. And that's the kind of the place where Joe and I are at, because I'm sitting here struggling with, well, do we really want a lot of debt notes? Or do we want real wealth? So maybe when you're thinking of your remedies, you might be thinking of exactly what it is you want to do in life and say, I want to make sure I'm not prevented from doing this unless you can bring forward a reasonable explanation about why I shouldn't do it that will be accepted by me and my peers. Again, getting back to the importance of having a real town hall meeting hall. A real place where the flesh and blood human beings living in the community, not the special interests that are operating through corporations and through, I hate to say it, flunky policemen. No disrespect to the policemen. I respect you, but you're not being treated in a respectful way when you are asked to do things that are unconstitutional. But outside of a place where people can come down and meet physically, there's a very good chance they could keep you all distracted on your laptop with your YouTube channel, giving you related videos that are tailor-made to just keep you sitting there because that's your taste. You're not out there, on the open highway anymore. Randy, what do you...
I'm just saying hallelujah over here.
Yeah, she's raising.
Yeah, you have more respect for the police than I do. I don't really have a lot of respect for the police today, because they violate the people's rights. And what are you doing it for? You're doing it for a paycheck. So you have a paycheck, and you have you drive around in your car, and you wear your shiny badge, and you think you're important. But meantime, you violate the rights of most of the people that you deal with. When you deny due process, you don't deserve respect. The police out there that go by the Constitution and that give the people all due process, those police I respect. But today they are very few and far between. That's the kind of police I want back. Police that honor the Constitution and honor the rights of the people that they deal with. Like the police, like the sheriff that dragged Paula out of the car. That officer, you've all seen this video who watched this show, or who arrested me. He arrested me without any knowledge of a crime. He said he smelt marijuana. The smell of marijuana is not a crime, yet he arrested me. And then he violently ripped my wife, Paula, out of the car. Am I supposed to respect him because he has a badge and you call him the sheriff? No, I do not respect him. And I don't respect any of the police that go beyond due process, that violate the rights of the people. And what are you doing it for, all you police? A paycheck and to keep and to have a good retirement. Well, in doing that, you're treasonous to your country. You're treasonous to the Constitution. You're treasonous to the people that you say you protect and serve.
But the treason is more significant higher up the feeding chain, and that's why a forensic examination will bring a lot of enlightenment to all of us. Joe's right. We don't respect people just because you have a badge. I'm saying, I saw the officers that showed up at your trial. That the more I learn, the more horrified I am about what happened in Marbletown, because it really should be going through the Department of Transportation. There's no jurisdiction whatsoever in these courts of limited jurisdiction. They shouldn't be dealing with driver's license. It's totally a shakedown. You're totally being deceived, and it's so, it's remediable. You can start to look at it, figure it out, and then sit down with the people that are deceiving you and to say, is this deception really worth it? It's like Joe said, if you bring a prison to your community to get jobs or whatever, look at the price of that.
And now we'd like you to hear from our sponsor.
Hi, we're your local high-speed internet and cable provider. Are you looking for a fast, reliable internet connection? A large selection of your favorite HD TV channels? With 24/7 access to the best customer support technicians, all at a fair price? Fuck you. You'll take what we give you. You'll have the option of choosing from several of our completely unwarranted rip-offs, including internet speeds up to 200 times slower than Korea at twice the price, TV packages with over 500 channels, 90% of which you can't view, and we guarantee a plethora of hidden fees. Then, our barely trained technicians will come to install your services somewhere between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. Knock once while you're in the shower, and promptly leave. And once we do finally get your service up and running, it'll be down and limping within 3 hours. Indefinitely. Why, you ask? Simple. We are part of what is called an oligopoly. It's like a monopoly, only legal. See, in closed-door meetings with 4 or 5 of the other major providers, we've secretly agreed not to have differing prices, allowing us to completely eliminate any competition and collectively raise our prices to optimum cockbag levels. Because we here at your local high-speed internet and cable provider don't believe in customer satisfaction. We believe in money. Pools of money. Looking for a better deal? You can all gobble down our balls. You're paying for it. Your local high-speed internet and cable provider. You won't like it, and there's no other option.
About the ad, why you like the ad. Let's talk about the ad.
Oh, I just like the ad because it's funny, you know? And it's relevant. It's true, you know, I mean, the kid's actually telling the truth, but it's funny. I love that commercial.
Well, when you're trying to watch TV, if you want me to say something, I'll say something about that. When you're trying to watch TV and you see this advertisement come on that they're actually kind of satiring, where the one for the actual cable company has the go-go dancers kicking in the white boots, and they say, you know, they've got all of they've got a cavalry riding in on the horse. They got everything they can throw into a soundstage. And all I'm thinking is, they're saying that, well, we produce this commercial because that's what TV, internet, and phone companies do, is to produce these grandiose commercials. And I think, well, wait a minute. That's what's really wrong with all of this, is that they're too busy spending all this money making these grandiose commercials and not spending the money giving you the service that you're paying for.
Right. And I'll tell you, commercials that I love to see and goof on. Whenever you see these drug commercials, they'll show this beautiful woman having this great smile, and they'll say, oh, she took this drug, and look how happy she is. And then they
Happy music. And
right, happy music,
environment.
beautiful flowers, like her life is wonderful because she takes this drug. And then they say, may cause this problem or this problem, your liver may fall out, your tongue may swell up, you may commit suicide.
But you won't be depressed.
Right.
I like the one where it's a cartoon and the middle-aged kind of pretty woman depicted in the cartoon is saying, this is my depression, and she's holding up an umbrella. And then the next thing you know, she's burying the umbrella in a hole in the ground, and all I could think of is, hey girl, be smart, that umbrella could be you.
Right. But what cracks me up about it is they show this woman who's having this practically orgasms on television because she took this medicine, right? But then they tell you all this stuff that's wrong with it, and they don't show you that person.
That's
person
right.
like laying down, I took this medicine.
They don't show you the person in the nursing home after taking it.
I took this medicine.
And here I am in the nursing home for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I'm not depressed.
Somebody should make those commercials showing both sides of it.
I think you
The
got
happy
$1 million
woman and the
idea.
suicide victim.
Do you think, Randy, that Woodstock Public Access could get the community behind it to get the funding it should get, or to get I mean, I guess the contract that they have now is not renewed for many years unless rights are violated. Then that makes it null and void.
I didn't catch what you were talking about.
How do we get more money into the public access station?
Well, for all the people that go down, if all the public access producers here got together at one time, all the producers from Woodstock Public Access, and went down to the meeting and said, hey, you know, the equipment down there is a pile of junk. You guys have been getting $80,000 every year. You're only putting $5,000. We want to know where the other 75, and that's misappropriation of funds. Now, correct it, or we could take you into court and charge you with criminal misrepresent.
Well, I would like to see an entire review. By the way, just the most up-to-date information on this is that there is a ad hoc committee meeting and apparently a producers meeting in the works for some time a little bit later in the spring. But just one of the problems with this TV station that's never been addressed, and I don't know whether I should or not, I'm going out on a limb here on your show to address it, is actually the vendor from whom the TV station gets its equipment. Because I've at times tried to tell the people who procure the equipment for this studio of much better equipment of the same general or cheaper grade that we could get that could work far more reliable than the crappy equipment that we end up stuck with here. But it just seems like over and over again, the crappy equipment that we end up with is because it's what a particular local vendor wants to sell the TV station for its $5,000 a budget a year, rather than selling good equipment that will last, be user-friendly, and create an environment where more people could use the station, as opposed to having to fight around all of these obstacles just because a certain local vendor wants to sell this particular piece of equipment.
Well,
and that's one of our problems.
To add to what you're saying, you saw the studio that me and Paula own, right? That was donated to us by a very generous person, and we paid $40,000, and we can do a 4-camera shoot, and we have equipment that switches and computers that go with it, and everything that goes with it for $40,000. That's better than this studio right now, and
but that's because you had the choice of all of the equipment that you wanted to get. Right. You didn't have to compromise on the particular model numbers or whatever that you want, and that's one of the problems here. This station has one vendor that it gets equipment from. I've talked with the people in charge of getting the equipment, and they say, oh no, well, we get a huge discount by having an account with this particular company. And my thought is, what good is a discount if everything that you're getting is crap?
Yeah.
You're getting a discount on crap. Right. Let's try buying from a legitimate vendor that has a legitimate catalog, that has a wide selection of equipment where you can choose what exactly you need rather than going with some semi-professional equipment and a lot of consumer crap that we've got here.
They're not getting a kickback.
And I'll add to that.
That's right.
And I'll add to that.
Exactly right.
Kickback factor.
That's exactly right, Paul. It's a kickback.
And I'll add to that. If they let someone like you, who actually knows what you're doing, which I would vote for you to do it, order the equipment, then you could have equipment that all matches up with each other.
That's
you
right.
know, this plug plugs properly into the other piece of equipment. You don't have to jury rig a plug to make it fit because that equipment wasn't made to go with that equipment. You know, and they could replace almost all the equipment in here with the one $80,000 thing. The only thing they have here better than what we have are the cameras, And even our cameras are pretty good. Our cameras are high def and
Yeah, but they're
These
high-
cameras aren't high def. These are
they're not.
recycled consumer grade standard definition cameras, and that's why we only have 2 of them right now, because the other one is out being repaired because they've determined that it's cheaper to get for this system cameras repaired than to get new ones, because we are not equipped even in the studio to do real high definition television, which is now the standard. And the reason why we're not is because we're still stuck with this equipment that's just here because it's been here.
And we have our own high-definition studio with a 4-camera shoot that cost us $40,000, and there's a few more pieces that we need. And for a station like this, if they put the whole $80,000 in, they could have a #1 station.
That's right.
Top-of-the-line station.
And if they had had a cooperative supervisor who put some will behind it, you could have $250,000 like other similar communities of similar sizes. And they were claiming that these are fabricated. Dee Dee didn't know what she was talking about. But I'm going to be talking to those people. Why not have the cable company give $250,000?
Well, you know, I'd like
have asked. 80's the minimum.
I'd like to start spending the money that we have and figure out, because as you just said, Joe, you can build a damn good studio for $40,000-$50,000, and if we had a professional switcher in here to start out with, we could be in any video format the cable company would give us.
Yeah.
Right.
For this studio, you'd need a little more than, because, you know, of the kind of use that you have. There's a lot of people coming in. You'd need a little better equipment than
Right.
what we have. You know, a little more user-friendly.
But also the thing is, though, if the equipment was selected properly from a vendor that had a wide range of equipment and just wasn't trying to
B&H.
sell off junk that they
We
got in
got
a consignment, then we would end up with better equipment for the get-go.
We got us all our stuff from B&H down in the city.
That's a good place to go. It's
yeah,
better
and-
than where this place goes.
Yep, and it's the best prices around.
I
Anyway.
am walking such a fine line not to mention that company in Saugerties.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
that's all I'll say.
it's time for us to say goodbye from Pot Talk. And don't forget, bother your local politicians. Don't let them get away with what they're doing. Bother your local judges. Say, act. We want you to act in a legal manner. We want you all to act according to the Constitution. Have a good night, people, from Pot Talk.
You've been watching Pot Talk 2013, starring Joe Barton. Also starring Paula Gloria. Be sure to tune in next week at this same time on this same ill-equipped station for more Pot Talk TV. Pot Talk is a manifestation production.